Alright, YouTube. So there was another attack at a university, this one at Ohio State University, Monday, today, where 9 people were hurt. Now I'm going to read to you what they said on Fox News about this. An 18-year-old Somali student was behind an attack involving a car and butcher knife on the campus of Ohio State University Monday that left 9 people injured. After the attacker, identified by authorities as first-year student Abdul Razak Ali Artan, plowed his vehicle into the crowd, officials said he got out of the vehicle and began attacking people with a butcher knife before he was shot and killed by a campus police officer. So, another terrorist-inspired attack. This one without a gun. But what this does, it reflects the degree of how easy it is to hurt somebody if you want to. This is the antithesis of the anti-gun argument, because people say that, well, guns are only used by criminals or terrorists to kill people. That's why they're there for them. Well, no. This shows that they're willing to use anything they can. And the chances are he wasn't able to buy a gun. We don't know reports yet. Chances are he's probably on a watch list. So the people did their job. The government did their job by not selling them a gun. This is comparable to the Nice attack in France, where a guy drove over a bunch of pedestrians. I'm assuming he attempted to do so in accordance kind of with that strategy, and that seemed to work relatively well. Once more, this does support the claim and the evidence that you do not need a gun to be dangerous. You do not need a gun to commit a terrorist attack. So, what does this mean for the future of America now? Well, it's hard not to fear Islam in a rational sense. It's rational to fear Islam. Now, I know that sounds bigoted, but hear me out. The majority of terrorist attacks happen through some type of, it could even be radical view of Islam. ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah. All of these are terrorist sects who affiliate themselves with the religious dogma of Islam, the Islam ideology. Now, by people, this is why it's important that radical Islam is said. Obama doesn't understand this. I will tell you exactly why it's important to say the term radical Islam. But these people now, these terrorists here, they are not part of the Islam faith. Why it's important to say radical Islam is because you acknowledge that although the majority of Muslims are peaceful people, there is a radical segment of them, a radical sect of them, who believe in oppression, who believe in violence, who believe in terrorism. And it's important to distinguish the two from each other. By not saying radical Islam, you are saying that all Muslims are pretty much terrorists. It's important to separate the two of them. Obama has it backwards. He thinks that by saying radical Islam, you're profiling every Muslim as a terrorist. That is not true at all. By saying radical Islam, you are separating the dogma, the doctrine of the Islam ideology, from the two aspects. And that's also, back to my Islamophobia, what I was going to say earlier, why it's reasonable to actually have Islamophobia, is because by not separating radical Islam from Islam, we are under the impression that all Muslims, or most of the Muslims, are in some way affiliated with some type of terrorist activity. Now, you're not saying that, or I'm not saying that all Muslims kill, all Muslims terrorize, but because we are not separating the two from each other, radical Islam from regular Islam, we're under this impression, we are under this notion that most Muslims know somebody who is a terrorist. And this is not true at all. It is up to the administration to separate these two, to separate the radical from the peaceful. But we are not doing that. We just hear ISIS, we just hear terrorism. We have to distinguish between the two. And that's why I didn't understand why Obama didn't understand that. I thought for sure Obama would be able to understand that. Now, is this ISIS inspired? We don't know. Is this Islam inspired? We don't know. Either way, This will now have an impact of future America. Because due to Islamophobia, Americans every day are becoming fearful, and the media, for ratings, are spreading that fear quite rapidly. They're saying this like, "Oh, this is gonna make Trump happy because Trump said all Muslims are terrorists." And no, he never said stuff like that. So, but they're gonna give the impression that this is gonna somehow fit into Trump's policies, where that's why we have to ban all Muslims and stuff like that. And no, that's not true at all. He did walk that down a bit. He walked that back to, we are gonna extreme vet. We're gonna do extreme vetting on countries who have terrorist cells inside them, located inside them, which makes sense. Why wouldn't we do that? Why would we just let people come over who could possibly be part of some type of terrorist organization? So, it's important to understand that if a terrorist attack happens, that it's not the Muslim that's causing it. It's not Islam that is causing the terrorist attacks. Don't think that. Don't fall into the narrative of that. You have to understand there's a radical sect from Islam that are doing this. There's a radical sect from the doctrine of the Islam ideology. And they are the ones that are causing this. It's not the peaceful Muslims that are giving this impression of Islamophobia. It's those radical ones. And we have to come together. We have to congregate to eventually weed out those radical Muslims, to get them out of here. That's where the Islam and the Muslims themselves have to stand up. They have to work with America. We have to work with them and other countries to weed out those who have a radical point of view of the Islam ideology. By doing so, we can further, hopefully, extinguish all types of radical Islam. And it starts with the president. And I know Obama won't start. Obama doesn't want to identify the problem, but Trump will. But since the media has basically placated Trump with so much bias that most of the world thinks he's going to be Hitler, it's going to be exceptionally hard for Trump to try to alleviate and palliate these fears of Islam. We are under this impression now, because of Obama and Hillary, that saying radical Islam is wrong. That saying radical Islam is rude, is obnoxious, it denigrates them, aspersions. It's not the case at all. Radical Islam is the best thing you could say, because you are separating the two, the peaceful from the radical. And if Trump wasn't hated as much as he is, I really think this could be the beginning of a true congregation of people working together to weed out and extinguish the radical sects of the Islam faith. I hope he can achieve this, but you will see on the news now, there's going to be a lot more fear spreading from the left and the right. Both will be relatively similar, but yet different. And there's going to be more hatred towards Trump. And Trump supporters are all going to love him a lot more too, because they're going to be like, see, he said it from the beginning. And really, Trump hasn't been saying this, But I kind of went off on a little rant there and all. But I just want to say too, remember, not all Muslims are bad. There is a radical sect of Islam. Radical Islam and Islam are not the same things. The doctrine is different. The dogma is different. Please remember that before this gets out of control and we believe that all Muslims are terrorists, because they're not. That is not true at all. And we have to look towards a brighter future. We have to be optimistic of the future and not pessimistic. We don't want to fear the future. We don't want to fear future attacks, but we want to congregate. We want to come together. We want to work together to extinguish radical Islam once and for all. And I'm done.